It was a chilly Wednesday morning in a small town just outside Atlanta. The streets were alive with people rushing to their jobs, kids laughing as they waited for their school buses, and the faint hum of car engines filled the air. It seemed like any ordinary day, but for Marcus Reed, things were about to take a turn he would never forget. Marcus was a 29-year-old black man, well-known and well-loved in his community. He was tall and lean, with broad shoulders and strong hands, bore the marks of years of hard work. His warm brown eyes were often filled with kindness, and his neatly trimmed beard gave him a mature, approachable look. Marcus carried himself with quiet confidence, always wearing a calm expression that made people feel at ease in his presence. He worked as a mechanic at a garage on Main Street, and his reputation for honesty and skill had earned him the trust of nearly everyone in town. If your car broke down, Marcus was the first person you called. He never overcharged anyone and treated every customer with respect. Marcus was a man who minded his own business, took pride in his work, and stayed out of trouble. That morning, Marcus left his modest one-bedroom apartment at 7 a.m. sharp, as he always did. Dressed in his worn-out overalls, he made his way to the garage on foot. He didn't own a car, even though he fixed them for a living. To Marcus, walking was his time to clear his mind, plan out the day ahead, and sometimes dream about saving enough money to open his own garage. The town had a peaceful rhythm to it, and Marcus felt at ease as he strolled down the sidewalk. He greeted Ms. Dorothy, an elderly woman who sat on her porch every morning, sipping sweet tea. He waved at Tony, the mailman who always seemed to have a smile on his face. The people here knew Marcus. They trusted him, and he trusted them, too. But things can change in an instant. At around 7:30, Marcus stopped at the corner store to grab a bottle of water and a breakfast sandwich. It was the same little store he had been visiting for years. The owner, Mr. Patel, was an older gentleman who often gave Marcus a discount for being a loyal customer. "Morning, Mr. Patel," Marcus said as he walked into the store. The familiar bell above the door chimed softly. "Good morning, Marcus," Mr. Patel replied with a warm smile. "Your usual today?" Marcus nodded and headed to the refrigerator to grab his bottle of water. He was browsing through the shelves when, suddenly, the bell above the door chimed again. Marcus paid no mind to it. People came and went all the time. He grabbed his sandwich, walked to the counter, and handed Mr. Patel a $5 bill. "Keep the change," Marcus said with a small grin. "Thank you, my friend. Have a good day at work," Mr. Patel replied. Marcus walked out of the store, still chewing his sandwich, when he noticed something unusual. A police car was parked just across the street. At first, he didn't think much of it. Police cars were everywhere these days, but something about the way the officer inside was looking at him made Marcus uneasy. He shrugged it off and kept walking. After all, he had done nothing wrong. Before Marcus could make it halfway down the block, he heard the screech of tires. He turned around just in time to see the police car speeding toward him. The car came to a sharp stop, and the door flew open. Out stepped Officer Jenkins, a tall, burly white man with a hard expression on his face. "Hey, you!" Officer Jenkins shouted. "Stop right there!" Marcus froze. He looked around, unsure if the officer was talking to him. "Me?" Marcus asked, pointing to himself. "Yeah, you. Don't play dumb. Hands where I can see them." Marcus frowned, but did as he was told. He lifted his hands in the air, his half-eaten sandwich still clutched in his right hand. "What's going on?" Marcus asked calmly. "Don't move," Officer Jenkins barked, walking toward Marcus with his hand resting on his holstered me. A few people nearby began to slow down and stare. An elderly woman paused mid-step, her grocery bag slipping slightly in her hand as she watched with wide, worried eyes. A young man on a bicycle stopped pedaling, his mouth slightly open as he tried to make sense of the scene unfolding before him. Two teenagers, one holding a phone, whispered to each other, their expressions a mix of curiosity and concern. Marcus's heart started to race as he felt the weight of their eyes on him, but he kept his composure, his face calm, though his pulse thundered in his ears. "Sir, I'm just on my way to work," Marcus said. "I haven't done anything wrong." "You match the description of a thief we're looking for," Officer Jenkins said sharply. "There was a robbery at the corner store 5 minutes ago." Marcus blinked in disbelief. "A robbery? At Mr. Patel's store?" "Don't act so surprised," Officer Jenkins said, narrowing his eyes. "Empty your pockets. Now." Marcus's stomach dropped. "You think I robbed Mr. Patel? I was just there. Ask him. I paid for my food." Officer Jenkins didn't listen. He grabbed Marcus by the arm and spun him around, pinning his hands behind his back. The sandwich dropped to the ground, and Marcus felt the cold metal of handcuffs close tightly around his wrists. "You're under arrest for theft," Officer Jenkins said. "This is a mistake," Marcus shouted, his voice filled with desperation. "I didn't do anything." By now, a small crowd had gathered. Some people murmured in confusion, others pulled out their phones to record the incident. Marcus struggled to make sense of what was happening. How could this be happening to him? He had done nothing wrong. "Please just talk to Mr. Patel," Marcus pleaded, as Officer Jenkins shoved him toward the police car. But Officer Jenkins didn't care. He was convinced he had his man. Inside the police car, Marcus felt his chest tighten. He had heard stories like this before, stories of black men being falsely accused, arrested, or worse. But he never thought it would happen to him. He closed his eyes and tried to stay calm. He knew he hadn't done anything wrong, and he hoped the truth would come out soon. At the station, things only got worse. Officer Jenkins interrogated Marcus for hours, refusing to believe his innocence. "We have a witness who saw a man matching your description leaving the scene," Jenkins said, his voice dripping with skepticism. "Ask Mr. Patel," Marcus repeated. "He knows me. He saw me pay for my food. I've been going to that store for years." But Jenkins wasn't listening. To him, Marcus was guilty until proven innocent. Hours later, something unexpected happened. Mr. Patel arrived at the police station after hearing about Marcus's arrest. He was visibly upset. "This is a mistake," Mr. Patel shouted at the officer at the front desk. "Marcus did not rob my store. He is a good man. He paid for his food, and I gave him change. I will testify to this." When Officer Jenkins heard this, his face fell. The truth had finally come out, but the damage was already done. Marcus had spent hours in custody, humiliated, scared, and angry. Marcus was released that evening, but he knew things would never be the same. Word spread quickly about what had happened, and the town was outraged. People who knew Marcus rallied around him, demanding an apology from the police department. Officer Jenkins was put under investigation, and the media picked up the story. Marcus became a symbol of strength and resilience, but the incident left scars that would take time to heal. He had been treated like a criminal for no reason other than the color of his skin, and that truth weighed heavily on him. In the weeks that followed, Marcus spoke out about his experience. "I'm lucky," he told a local reporter, Because I had witnesses who knew me. But what about the people who don't? How many more have to go through this? The town eventually came together to support Marcus, raising money to help him start his own garage, a dream he had always held close to his heart. Through all the pain and injustice, Marcus found hope in his community. Neighbors came to his side, organizing a gathering at the local park to show their support. People who had known Marcus for years spoke up, sharing stories of his kindness and honesty. Mr. Patel, the store owner, stood by Marcus's side, speaking passionately about how the town had always been a place of trust and community. Local leaders wrote letters to the police department demanding accountability, while others started petitions calling for change. The outpouring of love and solidarity was overwhelming. A group of townsfolk even pooled their resources to help Marcus achieve his dream of opening his own garage. For the first time in weeks, Marcus smiled as he realized that, despite the injustices he faced, the bonds of his community were stronger than ever. But he never forgot that day, a day when everything he believed about trust, justice, and fairness was tested. If you found Marcus's story powerful, please share it with others. Let's raise awareness about these important issues and work together for a better future. Share Marcus's story to inspire change, and consider supporting organizations that fight against racial injustice, such as the Equal Justice Initiative. Together we can make a difference and ensure that stories like this are heard and addressed. And if you want to hear more real-life stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more.